Hey guys, welcome back. Glenn with Old School Millennial. Today I'm going to be speaking to reinvesting your proceeds from your sales of firewood back into your firewood business. One of the reasons why I was thinking about reinvesting back into the business, I needed to buy some gloves. As you can see, I've blown out my gloves that I was using, so I bought several pair. It just got to me to thinking like some of the expenses throughout a firewood business and what you need to be thinking about as far as reinvesting back into the business. But before I jump into that, I do actually have a question for you guys about y'all's favorite firewood gloves. As I said, these are my firewood gloves that I've been using. I bought several new pair of these White Ox gloves. One of the reasons why I like these White Ox gloves, once you've worked with them and they get a little bit worked in, it feels almost as if you're not wearing these gloves. I mean, they just fit really good to your hand. I like how they feel, and that's why I use these. Also, they breathe really well. One of the things I like about them is they're made in the USA, and whenever I can support businesses here in the US, I try to do that. I love these White Ox gloves, but I keep blowing through them like really quickly. I actually invested in some gloves. These Kinko gloves are great. They're pigskin. Chris with In the Wood Yard, he highly suggests these, and I trust him. He's used many different gloves. He actually has a video about all the different gloves that he's used over the years, and I'll put a link down in the description so you check that out. For me, these will work great during the winter. Most of the year, I'm working in pretty hot climate, so I need something that will breathe really well, kind of like these. But anyway, my question to you guys is, what's your favorite pair of firewood gloves that you use? So when thinking about like what expenses you're gonna have to put back into firewood, you got to think of everything, you know? I mean, there's just so many things that don't always come to mind whenever you're thinking about a firewood business. You know, you think of the big things like chainsaws and wood splitters and stuff like that, but I mean, you got, of course, chainsaw chains that just constantly you're having to, you know, sharpen and replace. You got chainsaw sharpeners, whether you use hand files or whether you use a bench grinder. And for that bench grinder, you got those cutting wheels that you have to think about, and then axe handles that, you know, whenever you need to replace an axe handle. A lot of the things are gonna be like one-time purchases that will last you several years, and you don't have to buy everything every year. So, you know, like a chainsaw, if you buy a couple of good chainsaws, they should last you several years. And if you buy a pro saw, you know, you may have a chainsaw that lasts you, you know, your firewood business. One part of buying chainsaws that I have noticed is you need to have several chainsaws and not just depend on one. That's gonna help you to not burn out a chainsaw and let that chainsaw rest, kind of switch between each one, which actually that brings up, you know, one of the things that I've been thinking about myself and reinvesting in the firewood hustle, and that is I'm thinking about getting another big chainsaw. One that, you know, is comparable to the 372, but maybe can take some of the brunt and some of the wear and tear off of the 372 so that it lasts longer. I really like this 372. I want it to last a long time. But that's just one thing that I'm thinking about, you know, reinvesting in another saw. When you first start a firewood business, you may have to, I mean, you're gonna have to cash flow a little bit, buying a saw, a maul, or some axes and stuff like that, maybe a wood splitter. But once you get the firewood business going, the idea, you want your firewood business to, you know, self-sustain itself. And what I'm planning on doing for the next several years is just as I grow the firewood business here on the side, I'm just going to be reinvesting back into it just to work on growing it bigger and bigger each year. My hope is at the end of the day that this firewood business can help me pay for, you know, some equipment here on the property and then eventually I can take profits from it. But I don't need to take profits from it right now. So I'm putting all that money back into it, and I will do that, you know, until it makes sense to start taking profits from it. The main thing that I wanted to mention today and just get you guys that are thinking about starting a firewood business thinking about is just think about all those costs that you have, and as you start to make money from your firewood side hustle, you know, be thinking about, you know, the gas, the bar oil, the, you know, chains that you got to get, the, you know, hand files, and make yourself a list. And that way, every money that you make, you know, you're putting it back to purchase more of that for the next year. Obviously, you know, there's certain times of year that do better than others on firewood. Sometimes you can sell year round, but there's going to be seasons where you make more money, and you just got to put that aside and then reinvest throughout the year, and you know, keep growing it, keep growing it. But yeah, I'm going to get to bucking now, so let's get started. Thanks you guys for joining me in the wood yard. Those of you that have started a firewood business, let me know down in the comments what some of your next purchases to reinvest back in your business are. Okay, you guys, I gotta show you this awesome saw my father-in-law gave me. So this is what he gave me. I looked it up. As some of y'all may have seen in some other videos in the background, I've got some McCulloch chainsaws, and I really love McCullochs. This is a McCulloch. I went back and looked it up. It's missing some pieces, but my father-in-law said he checked it out and actually has some good compression, so that's actually interesting. This is obviously meant to be a two-man saw. On this other end, there's a little handle that goes on the end there for another guy to grab, which is hilarious. Can you imagine getting to be the guy that grabs onto that other side? Sounds like fun. So, I mean, just check out this sprocket. That is crazy. This thing is crazy. I looked it up. I believe this one to be a McCulloch 549, which means it was made around, I think it was like 49 to 52. It's missing the starter engagement piece. That's also the area that has the emblem for McCulloch normally. But just sweet saw, you know. My father-in-law, he offered to help me if I can find the right parts, try to get her running. So that would be sweet. That's definitely a good restoration for some time. But if nothing else, man, that is one sweet wall hanger. That chainsaw is sweet. It'll be a great addition to the chainsaw shop. I love that thing. It is awesome. Don't forget, you guys, if you like these videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, you guys, get outside, do something you love.